and formally say welcome everyone to our weekly call. Hope you had a marvelous weekend, refreshed and raring to go for the week ahead. Let me just share my screen momentarily, just to let you know what the call has in store today. Okay, there's a typo. That's a good start. You can tell I was doing this whilst still a bit jet lagged. We're actually going to talk about the Internet Standards Observatory, not authority, although if Carolina and Nathan want to talk about the Internet Standards Authority as well, do feel free. But no, the Internet Standards Observatory is the main topic for the call. That's, as we'll come on to in a moment, so it came up a few weeks ago when Emily and Lucian and colleagues from the DNS Research Federation came on to talk about one of their sort of key tools. I think it was the day after a press release announcing the formation of the observatory. So this is really a follow-up to that for Carolina and Ethan to explain a little about the observatory. Once we've done that, as always, we'll talk about sort of some recent developments, forthcoming events, etc. But let me just stop sharing and say welcome Carolina, who I can see on my screen, so I know you're definitely on the call. Let me just and welcome Nathan as well. I'll hand over to you. You can sort of go through, give an explanation. I think you're going to maybe do a demo as well, which will be super exciting if you are. And look forward to hearing more about the observatory. So over to you both.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Andrew. And yeah, it's great to see such a a wonderful crowd with us today. So let me just quickly start off my screen share. Can you first confirm that you see what I'm sharing?
If it's an Internet Standards Observatory title slide, then yes. Okay,
amazing. All right, so yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Andrew, again for the opportunity to present today. My name is Carolina Caeiro. I am a Senior Internet Policy Specialist at the DNS Research Federation. And I am joined by my colleague, Nathan Alan. Nathan, maybe I'll just give you a second to say hi and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Carolina. Yeah, I'm Nathan Alan, Director of Engineering at Oxford Information Labs and the DNS Research Federation. I was with Lucian and Emily a few weeks ago when we presented the DAP.live platform. So it's good to be back again.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Nathan. So yeah, Nathan and I will be presenting the DNS Research Federation's Internet Standards Observatory. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so I wanted to start off by saying a word about the DNS Research Federation, which is the organization that is hosting the Internet Standards Observatory. I understand, as Nathan and Andrew just pointed out, that some of you may have attended some sessions with the DNS RF's founders, Emily and Lucian Taylor. But for those of you who may be less familiar with the DNS Research Federation, we are an independent UK-based non-for-profit organization. And our goal is to help make sense of the internet, really. In particular, we are focused on helping people understand the role and impact of the internet's unique identifiers systems on today's most pressing cybersecurity and cyber policy issues, including how the internet is evolving at the level of technical standards and protocols. And we have a strong focus on data analysis and research, which extends precisely to our work on technical standards, where we are essentially seeking to leverage our data analytics tools to study standards proposals and provide sort of research and insights as to what challenges lie ahead and how we see sort of the internet evolving through standards development. So why an Internet Standards Observatory? So last year, the DNS Research Federation produced a piece of research on technical standards as sort of the next frontier for defending the open, global, interoperable internet and sort of preventing internet fragmentation. The paper, which I will maybe ask Nathan to share in the chat, essentially discussed how across various standard development organizations, we were seeing proposals come up that could potentially result in sort of various levels and forms of internet fragmentation. Our paper focused in particular on standards proposals inspired by sort of the vision for an alternative internet architecture introduced in China's new IP proposal. So we looked at things such as proposals to transform the internet's way of networking and sort of pursue integration of networking and application layers, proposals to transform the internet protocol and internet addressing, proposals to sort of apply decentralized ledger technologies across the internet's core and sort of, particularly as a means to sort of rethink naming on the internet. So in other words, we noticed there was a growing volume of sort of, important standards proposals being introduced that could transform the way the internet works. And we felt there was sort of a general need to have a broad coalition of actors from the technical community to private sector to policymakers engage with those proposals and sort of have thorough conversations about how and sort of in what direction we want the internet to evolve. We also did a series of consultations and roundtable discussions over 2022, and we sort of kept on hearing from the technical community, the private sector, country delegations, how time and resource intensive it is to do engagement in standards and sort of generally just keep abreast of things that are happening and sort of being proposed at standards organizations. So we essentially identified, I guess, a need to reduce barriers for engagement in standards, particularly in connection to two challenges that you see here on the slide. So first, instead of providing assistance and simplifying the identification of priority proposals to track and to do engagement with. And second, sort of particularly for those new to standards setting, having sort of guidance for how to participate, how to assess standards proposals, and how to sort of engage at the level of SDOs. So we turned these needs we identified into a project proposal for the creation of the Internet Standards Observatory. And towards the end of 2022, we secured funding from the Internet Society Foundation and the RIPE NCC to get the project started. So what is the Internet Standards Observatory exactly? So the Internet Standards Observatory is a platform that we are currently developing. The observatory essentially seeks to lower those barriers for engagement with standards that I described in the previous slide. And it seeks to sort of facilitate through automation the identification and tracking of standards proposals that might shape the future of the internet. So in this phase of the project, we are prioritizing the tracking of standards that we understand could drive internet fragmentation. So again, proposals to transform the internet's core, things like transforming internet addressing, networking, routing, things like sort of various implementations of decentralized ledger technologies that, again, might transform naming, addressing, routing, and so forth. Our SDOs of focus, again, in this initial stage are three. We are looking at ITUT, specifically study group 13, which focuses on future networks. Study group 16, which focuses on multimedia, and it's the study group where we've seen sort of use cases come up, such as the metaverse. And study group 17, which focuses on security. We are also looking at IETF, of course, as sort of the leading organization for the development of internet standards, and we'll also be looking at ETSI, which is the European Telecommunications Standards Institute, where we saw proposals such as IPv6 Plus and IPv6 Enhanced Innovation, I believe it was called, come up. So how exactly do we propose to facilitate that engagement with standards proposals? So essentially in two ways. First, we will be launching what we call the standards tracker for our SDOs of interest, which my colleague Nathan will be showing in just a second, and which essentially relies on text analysis to automate and identify from sort of large volumes of proposals, which documents, which standards proposals may require more sort of immediate engagement. And second, sort of a big element of our work will be engaging in what we refer to internally as knowledge translation, which is this idea of sort of generating and providing resources to facilitate engagement with standards. So essentially, sort of, as part of our work, we'll be commissioning research papers on standards and internet fragmentation. We'll be producing sort of regular blog articles to discuss trends and challenges in internet standards development. And we'll be hosting as well a series of roundtables to promote our tracker and research findings. So just one additional word on the type of proposals we'll be tracking. So the standards tracker we will be putting out, will be providing analysis ahead of standards meetings. So say for ITU, we will be producing sort of updates 2 weeks ahead of study groups' physical meetings, which is when contributions get published, to help those attending those meetings prepare ahead of time. And for IETF, will be sort of a similar dynamic. So ahead of in-person meetings where there is a bit more movement in the update of internet drafts, we'll be updating our list of relevant standards proposals to track there. Again, the focus will be on proposals seeking to transform the internet's core. So on issues such as addressing, naming, vertical integration of internet layers, networking, and so forth. And just to sort of give you a sense of the type of things that we're sort of monitoring, we've been sort of following with interest conversations within ITU's study group 13 on issues such as computing network convergence and computing aware networks. At IETF, sort of related to routing, we are monitoring spaces such as the recently created working group on computing aware traffic steering. We are sort of, looking at proposals related to DLT. So, for example, proposals to apply blockchain to BGP to do routing security, and different sort of, types of proposals that we believe sort of require more attention and sort of active engagement from the community. So this slide is meant to give you a bit of a sense of some of the topics that you can expect us to cover through the sort of content creation or knowledge translation side of the observatory. These are some examples of the blog articles we're hoping to put out. So essentially on questions such as internet centralization and the role of standards, the standardizing of future and emerging technologies, the sort of upcoming competition for standardizing quantum technologies, standards trends in sort of the greening of the internet, and reflections on sort of diversity and participation in standards organizations. So again, just sort of a bit of flavor there for the type of contents that we'll be looking to put out. So having said that, we'd like to give you a deeper dive into our standards tracker, which we are really excited to show you. So I'll pass on to my colleague Nathan now for a demo on the work that we've done thus far. So Nathan, on to you.
Thank you, Carolina. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully you can all see my screen. So what we have in front of us is a dashboard that we've curated to demonstrate the power that the standards tracker has. So obviously, as Carolina mentioned, the purpose of this is to be able to quickly identify proposals that need to be engaged with and monitored. And the way that we do that on the system, the first thing we obviously have to do is we have to upload all of these documents to the system. At the point where we upload them, we then extract all of the words and phrases from those documents. Another step that's required is for there to be word dictionaries that are curated. So these dictionaries are based on desk research related to the topics and the standards. Another thing that we do is we analyze all of the imported documents so that they tell us which words and phrases are appearing most frequently. And then based on the frequency and occurrences of those words that we're interested in those dictionaries, we then generate a score to rank those proposals. So the dashboard that you see in front of us, what we've done is we've ingested documents from study group 13 into the system, and we've been able to pull out the most frequently occurring words that are of interest to us. So we have words that relate to what the document is about. We have words and phrases related to the standardization that's being proposed, and the use cases for that. Moving down the list, you can see that we have each of the different proposals. They've been ranked. So on the left-hand side, we can see those ones that we believe people should engage with based upon the dictionaries that we have created. And again, going down the list, we get to those that we feel should be monitored and then tracked. So that is a high-level overview as to the how we present the data. But how do we actually get to this finished product? So within the system, you obviously have the ability to be able to upload documents to the system. The system can handle anything from Word files, PDF, text files. You can set if you would like the content to be indexed. So we will strip out all of the words and phrases from those documents in order for the analysis to be able to take place. As I mentioned, you then also need to be able to add to the system those dictionaries that you're interested in. So the about words, the standardization keywords, and the different use cases, they need to be added to the system so that you can then analyze those within the documents. So as an example, we have a list of words that we are interested in monitoring within those documents. Within the system, you create yourself what's called a tabular data source, which is very much like a spreadsheet. And you can add and remove words on the system as you see fit. The other thing that's important is obviously being able to define how these scores are generated. So we might, for example, in this example that we have here, if a standardization word is matched, we can tell it what score to give it and what weighting to give it. And again, the same for the about words and for the use case words. So everything on the system can be configured and tweaked according to the needs of whoever is using it. So to give you an example as to how we might go about doing this on the system, we have the documents here which have been uploaded. The documents index is all of the words and all of the phrases for the documents in the system. So if I go into here, we can see the document file name, the section and all of the phrases, along with the length of the phrase and the frequency, how many times that phrase has appeared within the document. So to start generating a score, I'm going to just do a very simple example where I'm going to join in my about words to this document. So I'll select, and again, those of you that have seen maybe previous demonstrations on the DNS RF will have seen some interaction with the DAP.live platform, which this is based off of. So I can join in a data source. And what I want to do is join in my phrases. And I'm going to restrict it to only return where the words match. So as we can see in our dictionary, we've defined a word control pane. And we can see that that has appeared in a number of different documents along with the frequency. So that kind of gives you an idea as to how you can generate all of the words and phrases from documents, and then join in the dictionaries that you have defined on the system itself. So the system is very powerful, and you can use all different types of joins to bring in other data sources, but that gives you an idea as to how we've actually been able to generate some of these scoring for the tracker tool. Now, once you've done the joining of data between documents and dictionaries, you can then present it in any form or layout that you wish. In this case, we've obviously created a dashboard so that people can quickly search through the documents and find things that are relevant to them. So that is a brief high-level overview of the standards tracker, what the output is, how it works, and how we get data in and out of the system. So hopefully that answers some questions, and I'll hand back over to Carolina.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. So I'll share just one last slide. We'll wrap up with that. Let me go back to slideshow. All right. Yeah, so just, to wrap up, next steps for the observatory. So we are planning to launch our platform at the end of May with the ITU tracker that Nathan just showed you. We are also working to incorporate the ETSI and IETF trackers by Q4 of 2023, if not before. So what Nathan just showed is basically the tracker for ITU. He exemplified with the case of study group 13. Once the platform is out, one of our first outputs will be a document on guidelines for engagement at SDOs and assessing standards proposals. And then we'll begin also to regularly publish blog articles in line with some of the topics that I showed earlier. And we are also expected to coordinate a series of new roundtable discussions and presentations of our commission research papers between the end of this year and beginning of next year. And lastly, I think it's important to mention sort of beyond the public-facing version of the Internet Standards Tracker, which is that dashboard that Nathan showed a second ago. We'll be working with DNS RF partners from government and private sector in sort of developing customized trackers which can track specific areas of interest within standards development organizations and provide a lot more sort of analytical detail, such as document drill downs and sort of document clustering, among other features that we didn't get to cover today, but the platform is is able to do some other fun stuff. And for us, we see this as a way of really sort of putting our tool at sort of the service of the DNS RF community of partners, and also as a means for diversifying funding to ensure sort of the continued work and development of the Internet Standards Observatory. So if anyone is interested in this sort of bespoke iteration of the tool, please feel free to reach out to us for a follow-up conversation. So yeah, this is what we have. So I think I'll just leave it there, and maybe Andrew, back to you. We can open up for questions, maybe.
Surely. Fantastic. Thank you, Carolina and Nathan. That was very helpful as an overview. Hopefully people have found that useful, and good to know that RIPE and ISOC have sort of kick-started the funding. Hopefully there'll be a few people on this call that may have an interest in a follow-up conversation to see how to broaden the funding base, because I know as a not-for-profit that's always going to be a challenge. Anyway, yeah, in terms of questions, I can see Kurt put a question in the chat, I think inspired by one of your very first slides, Carolina, just asking, I think you indicated some of the standards bodies and others that you were connected with, whether you got any links to, or conversations with OARC, the DNS OARC team at all.
We haven't contacted them in connection to the Standards Observatory as of yet, but I believe we have been in touch more generally through the DNS Research Federation, but I'll make a note of that. Thank you, Kurt, for suggesting it. I think that's, yeah, that's a great pointer. So yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. Right, so anybody else has got questions, you can ask them yourself if you wish. Just use the Zoom tool, put your sort of raise your virtual hand, or by all means pop them in the chat. I will happily read them out loud on your behalf as appropriate. I'll give you a chance to think. Perhaps whilst people are thinking, the other thing, Carolina, I think Paul Hoffman from the ICANN CTO team gave a sort of presentation about a tool that they use. I can't remember its name off the top of my head, but it's an ICANN hosted tool where people can put annotations against IETF documents, not actually in the documents themselves, but they sort of it's a bit like if you put comments in a Word document, although you're not actually putting the comment in the original native document. I think what the observatory is doing is very complementary to that. And I don't know if you had any thoughts about whether to link to those, yeah, that repository, whether that would be beneficial at all, and some of those comments that people have put against the standards drafts.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that comment. Yes, so we know of this sort of annotations tool, and you know, we've noticed there's actually we're sort of seeing emerge like a number of initiatives that are seeking to cater to sort of different audiences and generally just sort of facilitate you know, the interaction of relevant stakeholders with standards proposals. We do think that the standards tracker sort of will fill in a very sort of specific niche, and perhaps even, you know, sort of a void in terms of, you know, facilitating the identification of proposals. And through the work we'll be doing to sort of help people understand how to navigate standards organizations, we'll definitely be linking out to other initiatives such as the annotations tool. There's also, for instance, the Standards Almanac that's been put out by civil society by an organization called Article 19 that does this, you know, great job also sort of outlining sort of within different SDOs what different groups are sort of covering and tracking, and potential human rights implications of the work being done in those different spaces. So we'll definitely be sort of linking and trying to sort of, you know, collate those different resources for our target audiences through the Standards Observatory. And if anyone else knows of any other sort of resources, initiatives that we should be considering, you know, please feel free to reach out to us and let us know. We're, you know, happy to, you know, get in contact with other colleagues working on these important issues as well.
Thank you. And you may have seen in the chat that Nick and Suzanne have helped my slightly faulty memory. So it's the RFC annotations tool. So thank you to that, Nick. And as Suzanne gives a better explanation than I did, focus on DNS RFCs to give him better technical clarity and also implementation notes. And to Capital Peter's help, we put the URL in as well, in case anyone else has an interest in taking a look at that, as well as the Internet Observatory. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments that you wish to raise with Carolina and Nathan? Give you a moment to see if you do. Not looking like people do at the moment. I can't see any hands raised. Are you happy to share the slides, Carolina, after the call?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we'll do.
Fantastic. Okay, so I can circulate those. And I can't remember, did they have your respective email addresses or contact?
They don't at the moment, but I'm happy to add an extra slide with our contact information. So yeah, we'll incorporate that and send it along, Andrew.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that will be really useful if you wouldn't mind. Fantastic. All right. Well, look, let's pause there then. Thank you both for the sort of presentation and demonstration. I'm sure you'll have some follow-up contacts from various people on this, because it looks really interesting and certainly a really good way of trying to keep across an enormous range of different documents and discussions in lots of different fora, which I think none of us have got the time nor mental ability to do that in real time. So I think it's going to serve a really very useful, very valuable purpose. Right. Okay. Well, let's change topics. Carolina and Nathan, you're both very welcome to stay on, or if you've got other things to do with your time, completely understand. You're very welcome to disappear and do those instead as you wish. But thank you again for doing that. Right. Let me just reshare my screen. If I can find the right slide, bear with me a moment. Right, just put it back in. Sorry, slight technical hitch. Let me just try and do that again. Okay, right, so I should be sharing it again. So as always, I'll just go through a couple of the sort of recent news headlines. You would have seen these in the sort of weekly email if you'd had a chance to look at that already today. But if not, again, I won't go through all of these. Obviously, it will take far too long. But there's an interesting article from CSC talking about sort of problems that they found with 20% of DNS records from a sample that they looked at, which is rather alarming, sort of leaving people sort of susceptible to subdomain hacking, as you can see from the headline. So that's definitely worth a read, as is quite a detailed report from Infoblox on as it says, a sort of decoy dog toolkit, which lovely bit of alliteration there. Effectively looking at a recent sort of malware and some DNS indicators of compromise that they used to track that down. So again, well worth a read. So various other things which I won't run through, but you can look at in your own time. I just mentioned the one at the bottom of the screen. Jeff Houston of APNIC has just penned a piece, just his take on the development of the internet over the last 25 years, from 1998 through to the present day. So as always, Jeff, very thorough piece, and if you find yourself with some spare time, definitely worth a look, although it's quite a detailed piece, so we'll need a bit of time to actually read through. Again, a few other bits and pieces which I picked up on, just other items of interest, not necessarily especially relevant to DNS in every case, but a few bits and pieces, including on AI, a couple of pieces, both from Politico and also from the European Commission on AI algorithms, etc. And if I do say so, but by far the best article heading from Peter on this call, The Joy of Text, which obviously had a creative moment. I have no idea what that alludes to, because it's well before my time, but yeah, yes, it did make me smile when I saw that. Anyway, so there's a few other pieces there that are worthy of a look. Quite a few calls for papers, workshop proposals, presentations at the moment, one of which expires today. So if you want to present at the next NANOG meeting, you've got till close today to put your proposals in. Again, various others on there. OARC 41 has just put out its call for presentations. We got till middle of June for that one, and various others. Again, you can read through those at your leisure, but various other deadlines coming up. So plenty of opportunities to share your knowledge over the coming months. Partly because there's quite a lot of forthcoming conferences and other meetings. I'll plug again the forthcoming RIPE 86 DNS Hackathon, as that's only a month away now, 20th, 21st of May in Rotterdam. It may be too late to get a seat there, but if that's of interest, then I'd act very soon if you wish to be involved in the hackathon, or indeed the accompanying sort of RIPE 86 meeting itself. The other thing I'll just mention, because it's only just been announced, is the ICANN DNS Symposium and OARC 41 are being, as you may recall, co-located. So as I understand, 2 days for each event. Tentative dates, not yet completely finalized, are the 4th to the 8th of September. And it's in Vietnam, at least that's the plan. I've heard the suggestion it may well be in Da Nang, but again, that's to be confirmed. But first week of September in Vietnam for those 2 events. And I think on the 5th day, it's the Vietnamese network operators meeting. So you can have a whole week of sort of network related stuff should you so desire. I think because it's linked to the ICANN event, there'll be no charge for the meeting attendance for the DNS Symposium and OARC 41, although obviously you'll still have your hotel and travel costs, but I don't think there will be a charge for the actual attendance itself. But again, all to be finalized hopefully quite soon now, because that will come around quite quickly. And if you want to have reasonable value for travel costs, I would suggest you'll be wanting to look at booking the travel sooner rather than later. Also, just looking ahead for this call, reminder that because of public holidays across various European countries, we won't have a call next week. We'll resume the week after, that's the 8th of May. The main focus will be on DNS Crypt, where you sort of learn more about the sort of current state of the other encrypted DNS, not standard, but hopefully soon to be standard, and some planned extensions to it. Following week, we'll have a discussion around demand to mandatory DNS filtering, some of the policy-related issues linked to that. Paul Vixie and Vittorio Batola will be involved in just sort of kicking off that discussion. If anyone else wants to join a small panel, get in touch with me directly. I'll be happy to add you to that, to really just lead it up, as I say, more of a policy rather than technical discussion on that one. Tentatively, the following week, we'll then look at top DNS with the Echo team. I'm just waiting for them to confirm for definite they can do that. And then in early June, Neil Cook from the Open Exchange will talk about DNS this recently announced support for encrypted DNS. On CPE, on routers specifically, and also tentatively, sort of, if Peter's willing and available that date, we'll also cover the joy of text.
It's going to be a very informative talk.
With pictures, presumably.
For anybody who didn't see this, or doesn't, probably shouldn't expect anybody who hasn't seen this, but it's just a quick look at like what people actually use TXT records for. I analyzed the text records for 1 million domains and looked at, okay, what's there? And yeah, that's it really.
Perfect.
It's quite interesting.
And then a couple of, you'll see there's a few things still to have dates confirmed, including one I've just added. Reached out to Andrei Meshkov at AdGuard to see if he could join us to talk about AdGuard's experimental support for ECH within their software, to see whether there's some lessons that others could usefully learn from their implementation experiences, amongst other things. But I'll put a date in for that more when I've heard back from Andre. I think, yes, that is indeed everything from me. So let me stop sharing. And we're on any other business. So let me just hand over to see if anybody else has got anything that's come up over the last week or so that you'd like to highlight, other than puns to slightly dodgy, presumably 70s literature that you may have read in your youth.
Your claims to innocence are falling on deaf ears, Andrew.
It's well before my time, I have to say. Us Gen Z people never heard of it. Don't know about books even. So to see anything from anyone else that's come across your desk over the last week or so you want to highlight? Last call for that. Doesn't look like it. In which case, thanks everyone for joining. Particularly thanks to Carolina and also to Nathan for the presentation and demo, which looks absolutely amazing. And I will now go and brave the I think tens of thousands of people at the RSA conference. So hopefully I'll emerge in one piece to sort of join the course same time next week. So look forward to, in fact, no, not next week because it's a public holiday, 2 weeks time. So look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great couple of weeks in the meantime, and thanks for joining.